Well, Peter, yes, I do agree with the tone of our discussion. And we have a saying here in the United States, where there's smoke, there's fire. And right now with the Michael Flynn plea deal, where he accepts that he's committed criminal acts and that he did those while he was about to become the American National Security Advisor, he is essentially laying the first embers for that fire. And the question now is, how big will it get? And Mr. Mueller is strategic and clearly understands how to play this game. There were no leaks at all about the plea deal with Flynn and how he was going to admit guilt. And Mueller is 3 steps ahead of everybody else on this investigation, including the Congress. So right now, Congress is asking questions, keeping the pressure on, finding misstatements by Jared Kushner, where he seems to say that he did not have any connection to WikiLeaks and to Russia. And then there are emails from him that he forwarded about WikiLeaks to other campaign staffers. So I think that the Trump team and the White House has to be very concerned, because they don't really know where Mueller is going, but clearly he's laying the groundwork for escalating this into a very much of a potentially an inferno for the White House.
One more point to Joel Rubin. Joel, is Mueller here being ferociously clever? Because he's kind of legally nibbling away at the edges. Manafort, Gates, Papadopoulos. I mean, May the 4th, 2016, the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs has an email exchange with Papadopoulos. Papadopoulos responds to that positively. The Russians respond to that positively. And then Papadopoulos, in an email, and this is established fact, this is not anything illegal that I'm saying sitting here in Doha, Papadopoulos then says, oh, I've got to refer that to a biggie. That biggie is Jared Kushner, yes or no?
Well, I think what Mueller is doing is he's building the ground for a case, and he's, in a sense, we see this in cases going after mob bosses, where they'll go after the underlings first before they go to the top and get the kingpin. And what we're watching here is exposure of family members as well, which is unique. And it's important to mention that with Michael Flynn, his son, who's very much culpable in much of these efforts, was excluded from the charges yesterday. His son was promoting here in Washington what we called Pizzagate back at the end of last year after the election, during this tumultuous transition period of conspiracy theories about Hillary Clinton and creating a foment, a violent atmosphere, where someone from North Carolina in the United States drove up to Washington, D.C. with a gun and shot up a pizza parlor that was targeted by these conspiracy theories. So there's a lot going on here behind the scenes. Clearly, Flynn has protected his son, and clearly Mueller is putting pressure on every base connection to the kingpin.
The Twitter bots today have gone very quiet, on top of which people are speculating, well, maybe the Twitter bots, i.e. the Trump administration, has been cut loose by Moscow. Do you think, and we are going into the area of speculation here, do you think Trump himself, the man, today, right now, has been utterly blindsided by all this?
Well, the Twitter bots, I'm glad that you mentioned it. The Twitter bots would always seem to surge whenever Trump had a dip in the polls. And I think that as the analytics are investigated by the Mueller team about the timing of the Twitter bots and their invasion into our elections, and the Senate Intelligence Committee as well is going to be investigating in these areas, we'll find that there was a linkage there. It's quite possible they're cutting him loose. You know, I think, to add to what Bruce said, the Russians wanted to get out, and still want to get out, from under American sanctions that have been placed on them as a result of their invasion of Ukraine, as well as from the Magnitsky Act, which focused on human rights violations. So the Russians had a very clear goal: put someone in power who will relieve us from this economic pressure. There are other angles to play as well, but in that first meeting, as it's reported, between Donald Trump Jr. and Jared Kushner and the Russian intermediary lawyer, that was the discussion. It was about Magnitsky and about sanctions. So the domestic havoc that this has created in our elections and in our democratic process, the specter of removing sanctions, these are very clear Russian benefits. Now, interestingly, I'll finish with this. It's that the Republican Congress imposed more stringent sanctions on Russia not long ago as a result of its election meddling. And they essentially forced the hand of the Trump administration to impose those, yet the Trump administration has slow-walked them nonetheless. So it's not like Trump has a lot of room to maneuver anyways in relieving sanctions from Russia here in Washington.